Good day, my name is Lydia Mutinana and you're watching Open Studio right here on Cape Town TV. So today I am joined by Constance Mathe from the Asijiki Coalition, an organization that focuses on promoting human rights or sex rights workers. Workers of sex rights. What?
Sex workers' rights.
Sex workers' rights. You're welcome.
Yes.
So please tell us about the organization.
Okay. I normally start by introducing myself. Thank you for introducing me. It's becoming like a habit anyway. My name is Constance Nothando Mathe. I am the coordinator of the Coalition of the Decriminalization of Sex Work.
Is it coalition?
Yes, Coalition of the
okay.
Coalition of the Decriminalization of Sex Worker. It was officially launched on 2015. We have been advocating for decriminalization of sex worker over the past 2 decades, and it wasn't us, it was the SWED, Sex Workers Education Advocates Task Force. So then during the 2015 we had our meeting. We normally have the meeting, the stakeholder meeting. So then we realized that there was a gap that was needed to have a coalition. Okay. So we started the coalition, and then on the discussion we started thinking, okay, how can we start this coalition? Then we thought of the 4 organizations that were fully funded to do decrim work, which was the SWED, Sex Workers Education Advocates Task Force, and then we had got Sonke Gender Justice, and then we have got a Women Legal Center, and we have got Sisonke. So those are the only organizations that they were fully funded to do decrim work. So we decided those are the organizations that can hold.
Sorry, when you say we?
Yes.
Would
the stakeholders that they were in the room.
Okay.
Yeah, there were a lot of stakeholders from different organizations, but that do support and advocate for decriminalization of sex work.
Oh, okay.
Yes. We normally had our own meeting each and every year, once in a year. So, okay, that was the start of the coalition. Then on 2015, it was officially launched. It was launched by someone inspired me a lot. His name is Ayanda Denge, the trans, who just passed away last week due of the violence. Again, he was stabbed to death in Cape Town. So then on 2016, the coalition was moving on with 18 organizations, but unfortunately there was no funding, and then they realized there was also a gap that was remaining. They needed a coordinator. Then I applied, I became the coordinator of the Coalition of the Decriminalization of Sex Work. Then we started, when I met the coalition, we were about 18 organizations. Then I started advocating around. We moved on to 63 organizations on 2017. 2018, we moved to a 72 organization. Today we are seated on 76 organizations that support decriminalization of sex worker across South Africa.
You just explained how it was formed, but now let's get to why it was formed.
Okay, we realized that there was people, most of the time, they only think there are 2 organizations that are advocating for decrim. They only identify SWED, Sex Workers Education Advocates Task, and Sisonke, the movement of the sex workers. But without knowing, there is also the health organizations, human rights organization, the children rights organization, women organization, the LGBTQI community organization, and different sectors, the men's sector organizations, and also the trade unions, because it's a labor issue as well. So people, they didn't realize that there is also diversity organizations that are involved
in the in protecting sex workers.
Yes, in the advancing the human rights of the sex workers.
Okay, and why did you choose to be part of this kind of program?
Okay, for my
to be involved in such a program, to be involved in such a organization.
Okay, for my passion, I've been more passionate as I started working with the LGBTQI community.
True.
So the more interest I found with the vulnerable people, they were touching my heart, because when I'm going out, I see the vulnerable people, because through the LGBTQI community, I used to work for Triangle, and I worked also for Desmond Tutu HIV Fund. So I found the LGBTQI community was more vulnerable, and it was touching my heart. So then I become so close within that diversity. I found so more interested. I met sex workers. So I was praying and dying to work with the sex workers, and so close with the sex workers. And then I started at Sweat, and then the first thing I started like doing my own research, the sex workers. I was one of those unjudgmental people out there who judge people. And also I call myself a Christian, I'm better than other people. So I tell myself that being a Christian, it was like a taboo. As sex work, it was a taboo. This is what I was learned from my church. So I felt like becoming so close and listening the stories of the sex workers, it's also changed me as a person, and I grow spiritually, and I learned that my struggle is not your struggle, and we are coming from different background, and to be non-judgmental, because as well I just remember like, okay, the Bible says do not judge. And then I felt like I was being judgmental. I've been judging these people for all along. I don't know what makes a person to do this kind of work, what causes this and why.
Yeah.
So I end up getting so close to them and understanding. And I thought, I had a perception myself.
Constance, please, can we please take a break, and we'll continue the conversation just after this. Welcome back. I am still with Constance Mathe. I'm still talking about the ASIJIKI Coalition, an organization that focuses on protecting the rights of those who are working in the sex work industry. Right. So how does the ASIJIKI organization protect their rights, or how does it help? What's the role of it, basically?
Okay, our role is to take the DCRIM campaign in the advanced level, which we are the people that they are now focusing in the obtaining of changing the law reform of the sex worker in South Africa. So that's our main focus and our main purpose. And then we do have the stakeholders, the individuals, organizations, which are the member of the coalition, which does the ground level providing the service providers, like Sweti, Sisonke, and Women Legal Center, and all those organizations that they provide the legal services, they provide the health services to the sex workers. And then we as a coalition, we just did advance on the work. We didn't want to duplicate the work that was done on the ground, so we just advanced the work that is done already, so that he can speak one voice and see that this issue is not the issue for the one person, for the one organization, or for the sex workers alone. This issue is affecting too many people involved.
So how do you protect these sex workers?
Most of the time, what I have seen from the Sweat, they have got their own law defense center clinic. So they present the case, the legal cases into the court, and they do the bail application find, because to arrest someone you need an evidence and stuff and everything. So it's hardly to get an evidence to call the people right-handed. According to the law and the constitution, it says you might be caught in the act doing such an act in the sexually or intimate, then that's when the law can prove that you're doing sex work. So most of the times what the police they do the money mark, they mark the money and go and pay the services for the sex workers. So then you use that money as an evidence in court. It's become so more challenging due of the criminalization, though. the criminalization, it have affected the sex workers in many ways. So, and then in terms of the health, they use even the condom as a evidence. If you are caught with more than 10 condoms, it's proof that you're a sex worker, and then you can be arrested. That leave the sex workers more vulnerable, and they cannot practice the safer sex and protect themselves. And then the other thing, the other side on the social services as well, the children of the sex workers, they are not safe as well. They are taken from their mothers just because their mothers are not fit. And then we try as much also to educate the community as well, and
about sex workers.
About the sex workers, and sensitize the hospital, the police station, so that they can understand the sex workers and the choice of their occupation.
Yeah. So what are the stigmas right now are the sex workers facing at the moment, currently?
Okay, the stigma that the sex workers are facing, it's a lot of stigma. The stigma that they are facing is like in the clinics, once you identify as a sex worker, you'll be treated so badly that you don't want to go back there again. For example, I had a case, in Rustenburg, one of the sex workers, she's known, she's standing in the street. The nurses, every day they pass there going to hospital, and then she had sores in her mouth, and then as she was going to clinic to treat her for her sores, the nurse just busted out of her in front of all the patients. You come here, you say you've got sores in your mouth.
Yeah.
Why you have sores? Because you are busy doing blowjobs to every man in this community. That's why you've got sores in your mouth. So the sex worker, she felt so offended, she walked out. And then most of the times, if you go to hospital, maybe they have STI. Several times you have got STI. They ask you questions. Who's your boyfriend? Once you say, I don't have a boyfriend, I'm a sex worker, then you'll be treated so other way around. You are not regarded as a patient anymore. You are regarded as an outcast in the hospital. So the sex work now, what SWET have done so far, they have opened their own clinics at SWET offices. The AHF AIDS Health Foundation, they open a clinic at SWET offices so that the sex workers can access it. And we tried as much as we can to identify the sex workers clinics that are the friendly clinics around so that they can be able to assist the sex workers. Then it comes to the community. Once you are known that you are a sex worker, your children are not supposed to play with other children, because you are a sex worker. When you are passing, they call you names. Mahoja, a whore, whatever names they gave you.
Okay, not to cut you off. So basically, ASIJIGI, the ASIJIGI collision, what it does is protect them from such things? Or does it...
We are trying to highlight the impact of the criminalization, because these things are caused by the criminalization.
Which is the act that has been active since...
Yes, because without criminalization, if the sex workers are not labeling as criminals, they will be able to come forward and report these cases.
Okay.
And it's so difficult for the people who present them in court, knowing you're presenting a criminal.
Right.
Once these laws are shifted and moved from the sex workers, then they will be able to have a better community.
Okay. Constance, can we please take a break? And we'll be back just after this. Welcome back. I am still with Constance as we're still speaking about the ASIJIGI collision. So how does decriminalizing sex work protect those who are working in the industry?
Okay, each and every time what I normally says, I normally try to unpick everything. We have sat down and look at, there is 4 legal models. There is first the currently existing legal model, which is criminalization. Everyone knows that criminalization doesn't work for sex workers.
Yeah.
And then we have got legalization. The legalization, it does work for other people, but it doesn't work here in South Africa. Because the legalization, we felt like the sex workers will be still monitored under the existing laws. So that gives the people on power to abuse and violate the
Which
rights of the
was
sex
active like 1957?
No, that's
Really?
the legalization.
Okay.
It's they have implemented in other countries,
Not here in South
not
Africa.
in South Africa. And then we
Excuse
also
me, but why do they feel the threat? Like, why do I feel, because it's not,
okay.
not here.
Through the research and the study, we find out, we pick up that the more people that are violating the rights of the sex workers are the people in power that they're supposed to protect the sex workers, which are the
Okay.
police.
Oh,
So
right.
once we legalize it, we will see that the police they will have an advantage because the legalization, it will give them the sex workers, the sex industry will be registered in the laws, but you will be monitored by the laws. Some of the
okay.
countries, it says you may work in a certain corner, but you are not allowed to move
Yes.
to another corner.
Yeah.
So that
I've seen that
give an
happen.
access to this to the police to still abuse and violate
Okay.
the rights because they collect it privately. They also do the sexual harassments, they do rape and stuff and everything.
Okay.
But I'm not saying all the police.
Yes,
Some are
fine.
good, some are bad.
Back to their campaigns.
Okay, and then we have got the partial decree. The partial decree is well known as a Swedish model that was implemented in Sweden. So it simply says you can open your own business, you can run your sex working industry, but the buyer must be arrested. So that law doesn't work because looking at the law, at the current South Africa, existing South Africa now, the people have got their choices. If you choose this occupation, it's your choice. We need to respect people's choices. We can't say we must close this job because this, you can say, open the business, but the buyer mustn't come in. Simply
Okay.
says, open, sell your tomatoes, but anyone who come to buy tomatoes must be arrested. So that law doesn't make sense. So why do we open those
Even
shops?
do open,
Yes.
like, yeah.
So finally, we have got the decriminalization of sex worker, which is the one that we felt like it can protect the sex workers, and we are in favor of the law. It simply says the buyer and the seller should be recognized as the criminals. There will be not criminals. There will be
So
no
it's not
law.
like a one-sided thing. It's
Yes.
not only going to be the
The
seller.
benefit
who's-
to the seller or the benefit to the buyer. It will benefit both.
Okay.
One, it will first remove the stigma of the criminalization, the impact of the criminalization and all the stereotypes that it have created. And then secondly, the occupation itself, it will be recognized in the labor laws because we have the sex workers who work under the brothels. We have the sex workers who work at the massage parlor. We have the sex workers that are being employed by the pimps in their houses. Their bosses, they push them to do the things that they don't want to do. They work long hours. They are being forced to sleep with any clients. There is abnormally incentive that they need to pay or fines if you run late. There is no sick leaves. There is nothing. Even when you're sick, you need to work.
So basically, this is a job.
It's a job. So we need the law that will recognize and also make sure that the sex workers are protected, those who are in the industry. And also, the decriminalization of sex workers, the children itself, because remember this law of criminalization, it says anyone who benefits in the industry is a criminal. The children of the sex workers are in danger.
Considered as criminals as
Yes.
well.
So in schools, there is a stigma and discrimination. The teachers, they harass, they call their mothers by names, they call the children. You are not allowed to play with the other children because your mom, she's doing this kind of job. It leaves a child vulnerable, running out of school, they end up doing wrong things. So we need those cases to be identified and be brought in the existing laws, and make sure that the law must take its course and protect everyone, not other people. And then the other thing, decriminalization, it will free the sex workers in the access of health. There will be a place where the condoms, they will be not used as the evidence, which is so fun enough. And the sex workers are not going to be forced to do any nasty things. By the healthy institution, they will be treated and regarded as people like anyone else.
Okay.
So that's why we are in favor of the decriminalization of sex workers. So also we want the laws to just change around that issue, because let's do not look at the law into the moral issue and also thinking about the human rights.
Constance, we have to wrap up, but
Dependence,
just like
yes.
say what you want to say right now, but just think of the time.
Yes. So this is why we are in advancing the decriminalization of sex worker. We felt like the sex workers, they will be free and they will be working freely and they will be recognized in every law.
Right. Thank you so much. This was really educating, and I think I have learned a lot now to actually not look down upon sex workers. And thank you to the viewer as well. And hopefully that you actually learned a lot about what sex work is and what Asijiki Collegian is doing. But that's all we have for today. Until next time, bye-bye.
Thank you.